It's time for a brand new episode of the Bakery Bears video show.
This is our lifestyle show featuring craft, baking, and a little bit of history.
We've got lots of projects to show and one of our special series to share.
What will we feature this time, and which of our projects will be our favourite?
Let's get on with the show and find out.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Bakery Bears video show. And that's it. Summer is over.
Yes, it is.
Autumn is here. And it doesn't get any better than this, does it? Because it's knitting season.
Yes, it is. Well, yes, officially, I suppose we knit all the time, don't we? But
Yeah, we do, but...
it's cosy season, isn't it?
Well, no, look, in the summer, when it's boiling,
Yeah, that's true.
you're looking forward to being able to wear your
Yeah,
knitted things.
yeah.
When it's cold and you can wear your knitted things, for me that's the most inspirational time.
Definitely.
Because you've got on the gear that you're wearing and it's like the circle is complete. My hands are creating, my body is wearing.
I know.
Everything's wonderful.
I've had a hat on twice, I think, when I've gone out for a walk.
Yeah, I've also had on a jumper.
You did have a jumper on.
I did, yeah.
the other
What's the
day.
point in wearing
Yeah.
jackets? There's no point in wearing jackets.
Don't need to. You can just
when you
put
have
a-
let low piece.
Yeah.
It's the perfect solution. It really is. But look, I said, does it get any better than this? I can tell you that it does. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is also pie season.
No, we haven't made the pie yet.
But it doesn't matter whether we've made it or not. It is pie season.
Yes.
Because who wants a warming sort of crusty pie in the middle of the summer? Not really. No, for the same reason, Kay. Be sensible. On a hot summer day, if I gave you a massive steak pie,
I'd say thanks very much and eat it.
she might eat it, but she's going to regret it halfway through.
Oh, wouldn't...
And she's going to have one of her warm moments.
Oh, well, yeah. Sick of it.
So, yes, I'm sure you will agree that you don't want to eat warm, comforting food in the heat of the summer.
I guess, yes.
People don't. This is pie season. And the great thieving, the great reason is it runs all the way through autumn, winter,
Yeah.
and spring. It's like 6
So
months.
we can have pie in spring then?
Definitely.
Oh, right, okay.
So long as the spelt crust works.
Well, it will.
I know it will.
We're talking about pies because this week, in a couple of days, I'm going to be making a pie, right? And I've not made a pie in, I cannot even think how long. I'm talking about a savoury pie, not a sweet pie. So a savoury pie. I've not made a pie in years and years and years because pastry doesn't sit well with us.
Does not.
However, I've made mince pies with spelt flour, white spelt flour, and they're absolutely fantastic. It makes the best pastry.
It does.
So we had a bit of a revelation recently, didn't we? And thought, hang on a minute, why don't I make a big pie?
We can have pies again.
Using spelt flour pastry. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm making a chicken and leek pie, everyone. And I'm making the recipe up
Because
because...
none of that creamy business.
No, every recipe
wants that?
every recipe that I was looking for like chicken and leek or chicken and mushroom or anything like that, they all had like creamy fillings, and I want a more gravy filling. I'm very old-fashioned and traditional, so I'm making up my own recipe. So we shall see. But we've got very high hopes, haven't we?
Absolutely. It's going to... Well,
High hopes for Pie Day.
there's no reason why it wouldn't work.
There is no reason. It's going to work. Of course it will work.
Thus, pie season has begun.
We've been so excited about it, haven't we, for weeks? And
We have.
This week is the week I'm going to make it.
And what a show we have in store for you today, though. It's going to be completely spectacular. Of course, later on, we'll be having a look at what's on our needles.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say there's quite a few seasonal socks in there.
Yes, there is.
We're heading back to Lindisfarne to carry on the story of that rather wonderful place. And you may have noticed through the 3 episodes that we've had so far, on the horizon every so often appears that castle. Yeah. This time, we get inside. Our pick of the projects, of course, coming later on in the show.
Yes.
What will our favourite project that we're working on right now be? Might there be some socks in there? I don't know.
Be.
There might be more seasonal socks. Then, oh yes, what's off your needles? And I think it's fair to say there's definitely some seasonal socks in there. Look,
There's a theme. There's a theme, isn't there?
this is definitely a seasonal sock spectacular. And there is a reason behind that.
Yes.
And this is it.
It's nearly time for our annual Sockoween event, and this year I have designed a very special pair of DK weight socks for us all to knit. They're called the Spookykooky Socks, and throughout October I'm going to be showing you how to knit them in a super spooky sock knitting series. We'll cover every element of the socks from cast on to bind off. That means whatever level of sock knitter you are, have no fear because I've got you covered. And we're here today to start on our heel flap. Right, I've worked that setup round and we're ready now to start. Okay, here we go with the toe then. So that'll be all the ends woven in and your beautiful socks will be finished. So make sure you join us from the 1st to the 31st of October for Sockoween 2025.
How fun was that? And that's just the start of our Sockoween fun.
So excited.
Because it is, in fact, it's a month-long knit-along.
It is.
With epic prizes.
We've got some prizes.
Yes.
Yes. Are we going to say what the prizes are?
No, we'll cover all the prizes and things on the Patreon exclusive show, which I'll tell you about at the end of the show. The Patreon exclusive show is coming up on Sunday this week, so we'll talk about that there.
Yeah.
But it's our next Patreon exclusive event, and it's going to be completely spectacular.
Yeah.
We've run it now for a few years, but it was last year that we properly went after it.
Probably went after it. Yeah, everybody loves it. Everybody loves Sockoween. Everybody, and to be honest, I absolutely just immersed myself in it.
It was last year that the animated characters started appearing. Look, they're back again. It's the spiders. Look, away you go. Away you go.
They're cute spiders, aren't they?
Yes, we don't mind cute spiders.
No, we don't. We don't mind spiders, to be fair, because they eat the flies, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if only our daughter Bryony.
She loathes spiders.
Yes.
And she has to deal with them by herself now in her flat. And so far she's had to go and get one of her friends down the hallway to come and get one. And then another time she did hoover it up. So she's getting there.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
She is. So, yes, Sockoween, October the 1st till October the 31st.
Yes.
Spookykooky Socks all the way, baby. And you're going to be showing some later, aren't you? Are you?
I am. I will show those. I'll show the design that I've created for Sockoween in what's off my needles.
Perfect.
But yeah, Sockoween is just basically a knit along to knit all of the spooky Halloweeny socks. You can knit whatever socks you want.
If you want to join Kate for the Spookykooky Socks, you can. But you don't have to.
You don't have to. No, you can just knit whatever Halloweeny spooky socks you want to, and as many pairs as you want to.
And of course, with that series, you get the pattern in the first episode.
You do.
So if you're like an accomplished knitter, you don't need to. You can just go ahead and knit the socks if you want to.
Yeah, you can just merrily knit your way through them. You don't have to wait for the videos if you don't want to.
It's not just that though, because there's also been a special spooky issue of our magazine, which is out right now. So you can go and read that and get excited about the upcoming Sockoween event, but also just enjoy and delve into autumn. Yeah. Yes, it's an autumn spectacular.
Indeed.
And then we've also got a fall-inspired review. So yes, Sockoween is going to be spectacular, and that's the reason why we're loving the socks so much on this episode. So look, if we've got socks to see, I think we'd better get on and start having a look at them, don't you? Yes. As I say, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
It's a pair of socks. Oh, what a surprise. To be fair, I haven't been very socky lately, I don't think.
No.
So I am very much now embracing the socky feeling. And this pair of socks is brand new on the needles, and it's a pair for Dan.
Oh, thank you.
When's the last time I made Dan a pair of socks?
While.
It's a while. Not only that, it's a fingering weight pair of socks, and it's a very long time since I've made you a fingering weight pair of socks. Dan had on a pair of socks recently, and I said, oh, God. And you said, oh, these socks are really good. And I looked at them, and I'm like, gosh, I knit those ages ago. It's a pair of Drops Fabel socks, or Fabel, however. I say Fabel, you know, I don't know the official.
Let's call the whole thing.
Yeah. I say Fable, you say Fable.
I say table, you say table. Fable, fable, table, table.
Can you imagine if we said table?
Put it on the table.
Put it on the table, darling.
Put my dinner onto the table.
I think we should. I think we should start saying that. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but no, it's Drops Fable. And
you say worsted and I say worsted.
Yeah, you see, saying worsted, I don't know if worsted and worsted are different things, because there's a fabric, isn't there, that's in England I've heard like tailors and things calling it worsted. But then we say worsted weight yarn. I've no idea. Are these the same references with that same word? I don't know. Yeah, so he had on this pair of Drops Fable socks, and it reminded me of this yarn, and I said, gosh, do you know, I'm going to knit you another pair of those, because it's a commercial yarn, very sturdy, you know. I think they obviously have worn well. I didn't have any in my stash, so I went and bought a couple of balls, and I went for the most kind of autumnal themed colour that I could see that I liked. You know, I wanted to choose a yarn that I found appealing as well, because Dan's socks are quite a commitment to knit. And I chose this yarn, so it is it's colour number 151, and it's this sort of limey green but with orange in it. And I thought that was quite suitable, really, for the season. I think it actually matches a tree that's right outside my window that I'm looking at right now. We've got a little row of rowan trees, and the leaves are sort of just this colour. It's lovely. So that's the yarn, and these come in 50-gram balls. So you get 205 metres for 50 grams, and it's a 75-25. So I thought, well, I've got two 50-gram balls. I might try knitting these concurrently. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm using double points as well, so it's all really fun, because I haven't used these particular double points in quite a while. I did want to get a coordinating colour for the heels, and they didn't have a lot in stock of the solid colours. I got it from Wool Warehouse. They had very few colours in stock, and the ones that I would have gone for they didn't have. So I chose this blue, but I don't know if I'm going to use it. I don't think it really goes with the green at all. So I think I might just go with like this yarn for the whole sock, but I'll see how I feel when I get to the heel. You never know, I might want a pop of a different colour. It's a nice colour, this one though. This one is 108. Really nice sort of light denim-y blue. So we'll see how I feel about that when I get to it. So what I've done so far is I've got one complete cuff done, and I've just started the second cuff. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm not very good at doing this, but what I'm going to try and do is do the cuff on one, the cuff on the other. 10 rounds on one, 10 rounds on the other, and I'll just see how I get on. Usually I just want to carry on and knit one whole sock. Even if I get, for example, to the heel and then I think, oh no, I can't be bothered with this, I'm just going to finish one sock. At least then I'll have a cuff and a leg done on the other one when I come back to do it, won't I? So I'm going to see how I get on. So this is the first cuff complete, and I just did one round, I think, plain. I'm just doing plain socks, stocking stitch socks. And then this is the other that I started last night, and I've done maybe 4 rounds on that one. Can you see my needles? So these are really fun. Can you remember a while ago I went through a phase of knitting with the Addy Calibri needles, which is these. Now, these needles, when you get the set, I think there's 6 in the set, isn't there? They're a mixture of gold, blue and red. I've got the gold and the blue. And these needles they're odd because one tip is blunter than the other. This one is nice and pointy. This one, not so much. It's still a mystery to me because I prefer the one that's pointier. And, I'd love to do a survey of knitters and say, look, which end would you knit with? I don't know. I would like to think that most people would say they prefer the one that's more pointy, but I could be wrong. But it's not really a problem. I know now the way I've got to turn it to get the pointy end. And to be fair, the other end is perfectly fine, but it's definitely substantially blunter than the other. I had, I think, 3 sets of these because I went through a phase of having loads of socks on the needles with them and, I needed multiple sets. What I decided to do for these is to take out all of the gold ones. There's like 2 shades of gold, one's darker than the other. So this sock is using the gold needles and the other one is using the blue. And I really like that. I've got one sock with, needles of all one colour and the other one with all one colour. Because, again, I sort of didn't see the point of having the different coloured needles. And I knit loads of pairs using the different coloured needles. And I couldn't figure out why there were different colours. Maybe it's just the fun of it. Well, I don't know. Does anybody else know why? I'm sure there must be a reason. There must be a reason why they're different colours and also why the 2 ends are different.
Well, the 2 ends will be different because they will be trying to be all things to all men.
Yes.
So I know what we'll do. We'll create some needles which are blunt at one end.
Yeah, to suit everybody.
Yeah, so then we're guaranteed to get the sale.
Yeah, I guess so. But even if you say you prefer the blunter end, you've still got to remember each time you pull out a needle, you've still got to remember to sort of pull it out in the certain way to get that end.
Would there ever be a time, there probably would be, where some people like to use pointier ones if they're doing lace maybe?
Yes.
And normally they would stick with blunt ones. Well, so perhaps that's the only person that it's useful for.
Maybe so.
So it's useful to the person who likes blunt-ended needles.
Yeah.
But for the odd time they're doing lace, then rather than having one set which they can only use for lace, which they rarely knit, this is a very specific.
Yeah, you've come up with I think you've come up with a solution as to why they've done this. I think if you've used these needles, comment for me and tell me which
blunt or sharp.
Do you like blunt or sharp? Let's do a little survey of anybody who's used the Addy Calibri. If you haven't tried these needles, I would really recommend them. They're metal. I haven't got any of the cases, any of the little slip cases.
You only like them because they're coloured.
Well, that was the appeal, I've got to say. And it's fun, isn't it? And I like lighter coloured needles, and especially these gold ones are lovely and lighter in colour. And then I went for the blue because they also stand out really well, I think. The red is a bit more of a darker colour. So that was my theory when I was choosing which sets to use. But maybe if you were like Christmas knitting, you would have one gold and one red. That's kind of fun, isn't it? Yeah, and like I say, I've finished the cuff on this one. I've done 16 rounds, 72 stitches for Dan, and these are 2.5mm. I particularly... I tend to use 2.5mm for all socks these days, but particularly with DPNs because I do knit a bit tighter with DPNs, I find. So 2.5mm is the perfect size. But the rib on this is slightly different. I've used it's sort of like a half-twisted 2x2. And it's really pretty. And I was reminded of this rib, actually, by one of our patrons because she was knitting one of my designs, a pair of socks, and it had this rib and it just really reminded me. I thought, gosh, I loved that rib and I've not done it for ages, so I've done it on this sock. But the pair of socks that she was knitting was actually the pair that I designed for Vogue Knitting magazine. this was the rib that I put into the sock. It was a textured sock. The brief that I got from them was they wanted a textured sock, and I got like a mood board from them, and it was all from memory. I can't remember every little bit of it, but from memory it was like American prairies, you know, that kind of feel. And I designed a pair of socks that were inspired by like wheat fields on a prairie, and of course it made me think of Little House on the Prairie and all of that. Anyway, all of that ramble to say, I'm knitting this pair of socks for Dan, so I'm just going to do these plain stocking stitch. I'm kind of into stocking stitch socks at the moment. I'm just really enjoying them, and I especially enjoy stocking stitch on double points. I'm not such a fan of double points if there's like a pattern going on. I don't know why that is. It's just particular likes, I suppose. I think I find I can just keep track of it a bit better when it's on magic loop than double points. But stocking stitch I love, and I'm really, really enjoying these. The yarns, you know, the yarn is what the yarn is. It's a commercial 75-25, you know, it's a bit, yeah, it's quite woolly, just what you would expect really, but I know it wears really well, and the colours are lovely, nice and seasonal. So yeah, I'm enjoying them, and I'm keen to get the second cuff done so that I can then just, you know, have some lovely stocking stitch round and round on these. I mean, they are lovely needles, and I've pulled out 2 of my DPN cozy things. I made both of these. One's a Christmas theme, but hey ho. And when I was looking at them, I'm like, how the dickens did I make these? I can't remember. So I think I'm going to have to go back and have a look and have a think about it. It's years since I've made DPN cozies, but that might make a nice tutorial at some point. You know, making yourself some DPN cozies. Yeah, can't remember how I did it. So I'm sure if I sort of sat down and had a look at it and thought about it, I'll figure it out. So Dan Jones, what's on your needles?
Well, would you believe that I'm knitting a pair of seasonal socks?
Oh my goodness, you're not going to believe this when you see these. You're not going to believe it.
But not only that, they're self-striping socks.
Dan has never ever knit self-striping socks.
I have not. This is my first experience of knitting self-striping socks. And it's great. The black is very black.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's like...
It's very black.
It's extremely hard to see.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
At least it's self-striping, and then you get past it, don't you, and onto a colour quite quickly.
Absolutely. And also, you know, for the sake of the seasonalness,
yeah,
it's sort of required, I would say, with those colours to make it look, you know, like they're socks from the season.
They're lovely.
So what's the yarn again?
It's Freckled Whimsy.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
It's one of her Halloween colours from her club that she did that finished sort of earlier this year. This one was number 12, so this was the last one, April this year, and it's called Jeepers Creepers.
Where'd you get those peepers?
I know. And it's, you know, it's these I suppose some of them are typically Halloween, but certainly the blue, I would say, isn't typically Halloween. But that must be Jeepers Creepers. Where do you get those eyes? Blue eyes, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that what?
Probably.
Yeah. So you get, I mean, it's black, grey, purple, orange and blue. So it's cool. And I think, is it going to be black every other stripe,
yeah, I think
do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot of black.
Yeah. Poor old Dan got to knit through these black stripes.
That's okay. It makes the colour stand out.
It really does.
Yeah. And I'm doing the fairground socks.
Yes.
Yes.
Another first. Dan's never knit my fairground socks. So
yeah, I mean, it's going fine at the moment.
We had a bit of a...
Yeah, just on one needle.
Just not a bit of a hiccup on one needle. You dropped a stitch and then we were missing a stitch. I think you'd missed a yarn over and dropped a stitch or something. But we sorted it out, and I think you're on track now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am on track. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's going great. It's still early days with regards to knowing. I mean, I feel like having one round which is complex and 3 rounds which aren't, I feel like that's going to be all right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel... But then there was another part of me which wondered if the reason why I made the mistakes was the socks that I tend to knit tend to be engaging on every round. And I just wondered if there's not been a problem since, so I don't think this is right. But I was concerned that having 3 plain rounds was stopping me concentrating as much as I needed to. But I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I've not made another mistake.
No, you haven't.
Since.
I think it was just getting into the rhythm of it.
Yeah, so hopefully that is just the case. And
Yeah.
we'll see how we go. The one thing I want to avoid is I don't want to get bored. And I haven't
No.
yet.
I was a bit concerned that he would get bored with this, because Dan does like, socks that are very, very engaging.
Yeah, and I'll be totally honest, I'm not sure about self-striping yarn.
Are you not?
No.
You're not sure you're a lover of the self-striping?
No.
Why?
Right now I would say I'm not a lover of the
Why?
self-striping.
That's interesting. Why?
Because I enjoy seeing how a dyed skein of yarn that's one colour knits up into a fabric.
Okay.
I get a real thrill out of. I think it's a lot of the Letlopia experience, and it's seeing how, I don't know. I just seem to enjoy.
I get what you're saying.
I wouldn't have said that up until doing this, because I've never knitted these before. But part of me gets a bit annoyed when it changes colour. I'm like, just stay that colour. It was fine.
That's funny. How many stripes? This is 12
I think I probably
stripes.
enjoyed knitting the rib more than I have knitting the
With
socks.
the plain blue.
Yeah, and interestingly,
It's a lovely shade of blue.
and look at the rib, it's perfect.
The rib is perfect.
I was really happy with that.
You've done a very, very good job with the rib.
And what this shows you is it's so important for me, and it probably is for other people too. But if you don't knit ribs very often on socks, then of course when you then come to knit a rib on a sock, it's going to take a minute to get into it. But I just knitted a rib on the other sock because I'm only just on the leg. I mean, I think it is just practice.
It is absolutely
It's just
practice.
repetition. The more you do it, the better you get.
It is, definitely.
So I was really pleased with that rib, and I think that's probably why I was enjoying it.
It's right, and you were mad.
But I
that
really
you-
like the pattern. I really like the pattern, how it's changed the shape of the rib. I think that's really clever.
Yeah.
It makes it look like you've done something in the rib.
It does, yeah.
And of course you haven't.
Yeah.
So, the pattern is great, and the blue is great, and the yarn, I'll let you know next time.
Okay.
Because maybe I'll be like, oh, isn't it fun next time?
Yeah.
Right now, not the case.
Bryony will love these. These are going to
Yes.
be for Bryony, because Bryony's favourite is fairground socks.
Yeah.
And she loves autumn, Halloween, all of that. So she'll really like these. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh.
What else is on your needles?
What else? Right. So this is more of a case of what's on my needle. Because I'm doing some cross stitch. Everybody. Now this is not any of the cross stitch that I've showed before. This is something new, and I'm doing it for a specific purpose. So let me show you the bag first of all though. Look at it's not my bag actually, this is Bryony's. This beautiful cross-stitch bag, and this is a bag from So Sweet Violet from Jules, whose shop is no longer in existence. She closed her shop earlier this year, so I was so glad that I actually splashed out and purchased this. I got it for Bryony as a gift, and it was a kind of considered purchase, because it was quite expensive, but I'm glad I did, because can't get her bags anymore, and it is beautifully made. So in this bag, right now, the story behind this cross stitch project is that Bryony found this cross stitch design, purchased it, and started stitching it last year. She was like going all guns blazers, I'm gonna make this for my university room, gonna hang it on the wall, everything's gonna be marvellous. And then she went wrong a few times. So let me just show you what it is. So we got this from Etsy, or Bryony found this on Etsy. It's a UK shop called Dork Crafts, which I think is quite fun. And it's an X-Files chart, so here we go. So if you are an X-Files fan, you will know this image. This is the image from the poster that hangs in Mulder's office. And it's been converted into a cross-stitch. So you can imagine Bryony was all over that. And she started it, and she worked on it, and everything was going great. But then, like I said, she went wrong. And I'll show you hers, because what I decided to... what happened was when we were repacking everything to send her off to a new university flat, we came across this. And I'd said to her before when she'd made a few mistakes, I said, do you want me to take it home and have a look at it? And she's like, no, I'm doing it. Very, she's very single-minded, very stubborn, good for you. But this time when we were packing everything up, I said the same thing to her. I said, look, do you want me to have a look at this? And she went, well, you can if you want. So I knew then I'd got an in. I'm like, right, okay, I can help her with this. And she was fine. She said, look, I'll just leave it here, because she had started another one that she'd taken to university with her. So I said, right, leave it here. I'll have a look at it for you. And my intention was just to have a look and see if there was some way I could kind of fudge it and carry on with it. But actually, when I came to look at it, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start this again. There was a few reasons, actually, but this is where she was up to. She'd done the spaceship and the sky and a bit of sky underneath. And, I think she'd done a really good job. But she'd gone wrong sort of within the spaceship over here and then also over here, I think, and it had thrown off this next bit of sky. So she'd had to sort of fudge this. And then the problem is the design comes round in a circle. So that's going to knock on and affect the rest that's going to happen after it. And I just thought, I'm just going to restart this. So the other reason I wanted to restart it is the lettering, the I want to believe lettering here, that's not actually stitched. It's just unstitched, and you just see in the white fabric underneath. I didn't want to do that. I kind of want it stitched. I think that's a bit of a, I don't know, I just wanted it stitched. I just think having the whole thing beautifully stitched and then this bit being sort of blank and you can see the fabric through it. I didn't really like that, so I'm just going to stitch it in white. So to do that, what I thought might be good is instead of, this is a bright white fabric that Bryony was working on, I actually had in my stash a very slightly off-white. So I thought, right, I'll use that because then the white will stand out a bit more and it won't affect any of the other colours. I don't think really you'd be able to tell that much. You can if you put them side by side. So this is where I'm up to now. So I've done all of the sky. The sky is worked in alternating stitches. So can you see that? It's not solid. You do a stitch, skip a stitch, do a skip, sit. Can't say that, you know what I mean. It's alternating. And then I'm here on the spaceship. So if I hold up the two fabrics, can you see the difference? Mine is just slightly off-white. And I just thought that would mean that the white letters might just stand out a bit better. And let me tell you, this is tricky. I'm honestly not surprised that she sort of went off a little bit with the spaceship, because it's not easy. And the reason I'm finding it not that easy is there's lots of kind of, a few stitches over here and a few over here. And do you know what I mean? It's so, the colours are like dotted around a little bit. So I'm not surprised with her counting that meant she went off. I mean, I've been super careful counting this because, this is sort of the way I like to work with cross stitch. I do, so for example, working the spaceship, I do like to go over the whole thing doing one colour and then go back and do another colour and then go back and do another colour. I think there's 3 colours for the spaceship, 3 different shades. So there's this is a dark brown and then there's a medium brown. It was just a printed PDF that you get, you just print it from Etsy. So that's what we did, and then I gathered all of the threads for her and just put them all onto, we just created a little thread holdery thing and put them all onto there. And Bryony was stitching from the colour chart, and the colour chart has colours and symbols on top, which is what I usually like. And I was working from that, but I found that when I got to the spaceship, because the colours are all really dark, I can't show you obviously the chart, but when you look at it, it's all really dark. And to distinguish one from the other is quite tricky. So actually what I did is I went back to the pattern, and within it you can print the chart just with symbols on and not with the colours. I thought, great, that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I did. I printed that yesterday, and now I'm finding it much easier because you can highlight it as you go through. You can't really do that when it's that dark colour because highlighters just don't show. And that's what Bryony was doing. She was highlighting it as she'd done a row, but then you can't really see it because the colours were so dark. But now I'm finding it much easier. And I'm working my way through, and I'm double checking my counting the whole time. So I was doing this bit last night. So I was checking that the distance, between here and here is right, and that I got all my counting correct and everything was in the right position. So I don't know. I think everybody works differently, don't they, with cross stitch? I know some people like to find the centre and work out from the centre. I think technically that's what all instructions will tell you to do, to make sure that you get it centred properly. I must admit, I have never once done that. I've been cross-stitching for 30 years on and off. I've never done that. I like to start at the top. So all I do is I find the centre and I count, because charts will always have the centre point marked. So I find the centre of my fabric, find the centre of my chart, and then I count up. So I count, in this case, I counted up to this point up here. And it might be like, I don't know, you go 47 up and 5 across or whatever. It wasn't that, but you know what I mean. And that's where you start, and then I work down the chart. And I've never, ever had a problem doing it that way, I'll be honest. But however you want to work is fine. So, for example, like the spaceship, you might want to fill in all of the colours as you go, rather than do one colour and then one colour, then one colour. I just like doing it this way, because once I've put in all of the dark brown, it's then really easy to find where you need to put the other colours in, because it's much more obvious, I find. But I'm actually enjoying it. I mean, this is not my... This is not my genre at all of cross stitch. I've only got a few cross stitches in the house here that are framed and hung up because my mum's got most of them. But I don't know, I think I do tend to cross stitch things that are going to be gifts, or thinking of it over the years, actually, I've very rarely cross stitched things for me. It was more for gifts. So I'm usually choosing subject matter that appeals to that person. And I realised this about myself when I was stitching this, actually, because I thought I've got 2 other cross stitches that I've started that were sort of just for me. And I haven't gone back to them to pick them up again. But yet this one, because I know it's for Bryony and I know how much she'll be absolutely over the moon to have it, I'm really enthusiastic to do it. So I think I just prefer making things for other people, is what I'm saying, rather than for myself. So, but that's fine, isn't it?
It's lovely.
And I've got a needle minder here. Can you see the needle minder? It's X-Files. So I'm certain I found this for Bryony and bought it for her. I have no clue where I found it, I'll be honest. But it's cute, isn't it? And it matches the theme. Oh, you can see the spaceship there now, look. This is only sort of 2-3 days work, isn't it? I'm just doing it on an evening. It's Bryony's birthday at the end of October. I might get this done for then, but if I don't, my aim is to get it done for Christmas. She doesn't know I've started working on it, so I'm keeping it as a surprise. So yeah, brilliant.
Cool. This year, we have been exploring the stunning island of Lindisfarne. And as we mentioned earlier, always on the horizon has been that iconic castle. What's its story? In this episode, we're going to find out. So let's watch the latest episode of The Story of Holy Island. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our most adventurous series yet. In case you didn't know, I love history. I sort of grew up with it, really, going to school in York and living in a village on its outskirts. So I suppose when Back to the Future came out, it was pretty obvious that I was going to love it. Because for me, learning about history was like travelling in time. The problem with history in the modern world is quite often you have to travel a bit to get to it. I used to do my head in when I was young. We'd go visit a castle one week, then I'd have to wait until the week after for our next trip out before we might see an abbey or maybe a Neolithic monument.
Well, how stupid do you think I felt when I realised that there's a place where it's all within walking distance?
From an absolutely spectacular Tudor castle with a history that spans hundreds of years, and it's got an interior that you won't believe it until you've seen it.
To a priory with a heritage that goes back to the very foundation of Christianity in the British Isles.
And what about the Paleozoic era? That's 60 million years ago to you and me. On this beach, we will find evidence of even that. In this series, we're going to explore the history of an island that encapsulates the whole of the British Isles, but in a space that's 3 miles long and 2 miles wide. This is going to be absolutely spectacular. Welcome to my story of Holy Island. Welcome back to Lindisfarne and my story of Holy Island. This is of course the series where we're charting the course of this spectacular place from its first mentions in history right up to the present day.
When I saw you last time, we visited Lindisfarne Priory Museum, and we discovered the story of the end of monastic life on the island, depicted so emotionally by the battle stone. We also visited York, and there we found out about how the Vikings' conquest of the great city was the catalyst which brought to an end most of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of England.
And we discovered the story of the Normans, who defeated the final Anglo-Saxon king to claim the kingdom and throne of England.
When I left you last time, we visited Lindisfarne Priory, built by the Benedictines in 1150. It brought about a return to the island of monastic life, 275 years after it had initially ended.
The priory, though, holds a secret, because last time we only explored some of its buildings. Strange additions were added to this priory, unlike any that I've ever visited before, and it was all because of the proximity of Scotland.
In this episode of the series, we're going to explore those strange new additions. We're then going to leave the monastery, the priory behind, and we're going to take a walk through history as we discover the story of perhaps its most iconic landmark. I mean, the priory is pretty iconic, but the castle, I think, is probably the site which most people think of when they think of Holy Island. So we'll discover its story, and we'll also discover how it isn't its final swan song, because it still exists to this day and it's a wonderful place to visit, and we're going to get there later on in the episode, but it was actually done up rather spectacularly by Edwin Lutyens, and a garden was done by Gertrude Jekyll, and we're going to explore both of those things. It's going to be just amazing. So this, I think, is going to be just a wonderful episode. And it begins where we left off last time, in the refectory of Lindisfarne Priory. Welcome back, everyone, to the refectory. This is, of course, the place where the monks would have sat and ate in silence whilst being read to from the Bible or from a sacred book. Now, when this place was built, no one could possibly have imagined how popular it was going to be with visitors. And with visitors came money, and that money meant that this place was about to get a serious upgrade. And one of the rooms that changed quite dramatically was right here in the refectory. As the money rolled in, what had been a conventional refectory was turned into a great hall. Perfect for entertaining important guests. The raised area I'm walking across was once the site of the prior's table. This was the place where the man in charge of the priory would entertain the most important guests. Priory records actually still exist from this period. They're held in the archive at Durham Cathedral, and that means we know exactly what was in this room. It gives us the rare opportunity to imagine how this room would have looked when it was in its heyday. As you walk through this space, you really can start to imagine what it must have felt like to be in here and eating a meal. Because there would have been a fire just to my left, crackling in the corner. There would have been candles on the tables where people were sat eating, and they would have been sat on benches, but they would have been softened with lovely red cushions. It really would have been quite a warm and welcoming place, especially with the tapestries that were hung on all of the walls. At the end of the hall is what's known as a screen's passage, and it was right here. There would have been a wooden partition just to my left. To my right is the kitchens, to my left is the hall where everyone was eating and having a wonderful time. The lay brothers would have been bustling around here, coming from the kitchens and into the hall, serving all the delicious food. Everything looks relatively normal until you make your way down to the end of this passage. Because ahead of us, we find a substantial fortified gateway projecting into the outer court. Halfway along, we even see masonry on either side, which would have once held a thick outer door. This is starting to look more like the entrance to a castle than a Benedictine priory. And if we take a look here, the similarities get even more striking. Most castles had a sliding wooden latticed-work gate which slid from above in times of danger, and it seems Lindisfarne had one too. It was called a portcullis, and it would have slid down these grooves. The only thing missing from this scene is a moat and a drawbridge. These really are quite the defences. The Benedictines' new priory is most definitely half monastery and half castle. So who was it threatening the monks of Lindisfarne and needing all of these spectacular defences to be built? Was it the Vikings? Of course not. Their age was long since past. It was a new threat, that of the Scots. Lindisfarne lies not far from the Scottish border, and the route south really comes straight past here, and that put Lindisfarne on the front line of a really dangerous new threat. When the priory was in its heyday, this outer court would have resembled a busy farmyard. You would have seen haystacks for bedding and to feed the many animals. wood piles for the many fires needed. There would have been cows, sheep, pigs, chickens, and lots of people, all working to support the Lindisfarne monks. Think of this space as the priory's engine room. For life to function, you had to protect the people who worked here. In times of trouble, a bell would ring from up there in the long since disappeared tower that was in the centre of the gorgeous church, and that bell would signify that everyone here in the outer court needed to make their way around and inside the portcullis as quickly as possible to escape any threats which could be coming down the sea or down the coast. As the last person rushed through, down the portcullis would come. But who would defend the monks of Lindisfarne? We walked straight past the answer to that question when we explored the church in the last episode of the series. Because just take a look at this. We're looking at the inside of the west end of the Priory Church. As we pan upwards, we see the line where the internal roof once covered the nave. Above that was a floor with rooms, and there we see arrow slits pointing straight out, ready to defend the priory. Because on constant patrol around the perimeter of the priory buildings were archers. The presence of archers means there would have been a whole lot more men employed by the Benedictines to protect the priory. These new monks of Lindisfarne were making sure that they didn't fall into the same trap as Aidan's first monks all those years before with the Viking raids. Whilst there was a constant threat of Scottish attack, life here carried on for 387 years, and it was a thriving community. Account books show the monks busy brewing, baking, fishing and farming. They were also coal mining, quarrying and trading seaweed and iron. Fishermen were employed to work the boats, farmers the land, and women milking sheep. So were those soldiers manning the battlements ever called into action? They were not. The reason being was because Aidan and Cuthbert were both considered Scots, and so the Scots never even bothered to come and raid here. The devastation caused, though, by the Scottish raids, it caused the income of the priory to be more than halved, and so it did go through some quite challenging times. But it survived right the way up until 1537, when it was closed by, of course, Henry VIII in the dissolution of the monasteries. Once again, religion was playing its part in the history of this holy island. To enable his marriage to Anne Boleyn, Henry threw out the Catholic Church and closed all the monasteries. Unpicking the work done by King Oswy of Bamber 900 years earlier, now England would follow its own religious path once again. Two forms of Christianity now existed in Europe: Protestant, which England was, and Catholic, which Scotland and France were. Scotland and France were very close. They had really close political ties, and Henry was absolutely petrified that the French could take as many soldiers as they wanted over into Scotland, and then they could invade England from Scotland. This put Lindisfarne right on the front line of England's defences. Religion was once again bringing potential violence to this wonderful island. 3 years after the priory closed, the order was sent out by Henry that all harbours should be fenced with bulwarks and blockhouses, that's forts to you and me, against the Scots. The man who would attempt to fulfil that order was Thomas Manners, Earl of Rutland, who was based up the coast at Berwick Castle. You might recall from our last episode that English earls had derived from Viking jarls. History really can be poetic, can't it? So the Earl of Rutland sent a man called Robert Rooke to assess the site, and he wrote back to him that there was stone aplenty, and there was even a priory which could be used as a quarry. So the castle, the arrival of the castle, is pretty much what caused the priory to be as ruined as it is today, because they simply took out stones. They carried it up to the site that they were going to build the castle on, and they built their castle. Now, when we come back in part 2, we're going to get inside that castle. We're going to have an explore, and we're going to take a look at its stunning renovated rooms. So thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll see you later on in the show with more of the story of Holy Island.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the most enigmatic monastery I've ever visited. Finding a portcullis in a monastery, it's just bonkers. Similarly as well, seeing used any type of arrow slit in a church, never seen anything like it. But then so interesting that they never needed them. I mean, perhaps there was that underlying...
Better to have them and not need them.
Yes, I know. But you have to wonder, don't you, that there was the underlying worry always that it's been raided and destroyed before by the Vikings. Could it happen again by the Scots, the French? So you can sort of understand it. But we've set the scene. And yes, finally, part 2, we're going to get inside that castle. It's very strange.
It's very strange.
You will find out all later. And also as well, it's sort of fascinating to think that so many famous people of the day, the real Hollywood A-listers of the day.
It creeped me out, I'll be honest. There is no way I could stay overnight there.
And of course, there is a link between that castle and Pride and Prejudice.
Is there?
And that link is Helena Bonham Carter's granddad was the Prime Minister who visited that castle, and that Prime Minister then must be related to Crispin Bonham Carter.
But Helena Bonham Carter isn't related to Crispin Bonham Carter.
Oh, in that case, what am I talking about?
I looked this up one time, and they're not actually related. Right. Or if they are, it's like really distant cousin, I think. I'm pretty sure of that.
No, but it's such an individual name.
It really is, I know. There's got to be some connection, I think.
Yeah, and now I'm fascinated.
I could be wrong, but I'm sure I looked that up one time, and that they're not really... related. Maybe I'm wrong.
It matters not. I brought up Pride and Prejudice. Isn't it great? 30 years.
Oh, it's 30 years.
30-year anniversary. Just watched it again.
We did.
Marvellous.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Oh, I love it.
Should we keep going on about Pride and Prejudice? 1995.
Look, save your breath to chill your porridge.
Yeah. Yes. Cool your porridge.
Okay, look.
If you want to get it right.
It's the modern version. I changed it. Nearly said something else then.
No, save your breath to cool your porridge. I will tell Mama.
Oh, brilliant. There you go. Look, that's enough of that. Part 2 coming later on the show. We'll get inside the castle. It's going to be marvellous. Right now, it's time for me to show you my pick of the projects.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And it is, look, it's the Scafar.
Ah,
yes.
I did not know what it was.
Based on the European shag. It is, there's birds, honey, there's birds on it.
I know.
And the reason why it's my pick of the projects is I am absolutely at my happiest when I'm knitting with this yarn.
Really?
I love this yarn.
Good for you.
And the understanding of my love of this yarn has come from a little bit of knitting with self-striping.
Okay, explain.
The explain is I completely adore knitting plain knitting in Letalopa yarn and seeing how it knits up.
But it's all the same, isn't it? Row after row of the same. So
but
why?
It isn't. Because there's like shades and lights and darks. And,
okay.
I mean, this, to be honest, is probably less textural than some of the other
Tonal.
ones. No, I think that...
Textural?
You get like...
Oh, you mean because it's sort of a bit thick and thin?
Yeah, thick and thin.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's like you get everything. This is actually quite uniform. It's not been... I've said before that the worst one definitely was the Galaxy. This one, I'm not getting those problems. It doesn't feel like it could break. It actually feels
quite substantial.
Really quite strong, which is really quite good. So that's really good in one sense. But I just love plain knitting in Let Lopi. It's just so much fun. But then I finished now.
That is quite strong.
Completely finished the
I mean, it comes
look,
apart.
I might run out now.
What?
You've
2
wasted
inches of yarn?
3 stitches of yarn.
Oh my goodness.
Look, so through the colour work, and that's the most amount of colour work I've ever done on the bottom of one before.
Oh,
Because there's
interesting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different, for 6 with that, different colours going on, which is just spectacular. So the pattern is just the usual Vidis Jonsdottir. Oh, that was close, but the pronunciation was probably
The colours
terrible.
are lovely. I love this colour. I wish we knew the names. They're in the pattern.
Yes.
They're the exact colours from the pattern. But I
Yes.
love this sort of mossy, grungy sort of colour.
Yeah.
It's really lovely. I love it. Very autumnal, isn't it?
And definitely for me, what drew me to it all along
The blue.
was the body. It was the body of the jumper, and also the handsome Viking man who was wearing it.
It's very handsome.
Yes.
We like a Viking, don't we?
Yes, we do now, yes, definitely.
It's it's like a denim blue, I would say. Like
It
a
is.
sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Really
And
nice.
it is so unbelievably strange because in a normal circumstance, I would not want to knit plain knitting. But I enjoy the bodies of these jumpers
Yeah, you
as
said
much
that
as
actually
I enjoy the colourwork sections. I'm so excited, though, to knit the top. And
Yeah.
I know I've got ages to go because I've obviously got the sleeves to do and everything.
It's really nice.
But it's like such a zen... It's perfect bedtime knitting because, it's just round and round. But I never get bored. I was finding myself, actually, when I was knitting those socks last night, I was finding myself
falling asleep.
getting a bit... And even though I was, like, building up to doing the pattern round, whereas this, I think it's because my eyes are constantly drawn downwards. I don't know why, but you feel a lot of self-worth. Certainly I do when I'm knitting a jumper. You think, oh, my goodness, am I doing that?
Maybe I need to knit a jumper.
No, you don't.
Do I need to?
You do not.
Do I need to try this?
You've
next
done it
year,
before.
Maybe I know.
What are you talking about?
I don't enjoy
You've
it.
done this. You've done them flat.
What is that about? Does
'Cause
anybody else out there not really enjoy knitting jumpers?
There'll be loads of people. Horses for courses. You love doing You love doing blankets.
I do.
You love knitting socks. There's so many things. You'll do anything if you need to. Crunch, you've knitted some amazing garments.
I have. I can knit any. If you gave me a pattern, I think I would like to think.
Old Man and the Sea. Boom.
I could knit. I'm not saying I could knit any pattern, but
Penguono.
I think. Oh,
Boom.
don't even start me on the penguono.
The list goes on. The amount of amazing,
Still traumatised.
garments that you've knitted goes on and on. Don't force
Yeah.
it. Everyone's
I guess
different.
just because you can do something doesn't mean you've got to do something, does it?
Who are you, Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah. Brian, you'd be proud of me for that line, wouldn't he?
Yes, so no, stick to what you enjoy. We should. Yeah, sometimes it's good to do something a little bit different. And, let's be honest, I don't love socks, but I appreciate the skills that they teach me. So I do it. And you do things out of your comfort zone all the time.
Yeah.
Don't knit a garment, you'll despise it. So my pick of the projects this time is my scarfar, and I'm looking forward to getting a nice chunk of that body knitted. Oh, it's marvellous.
Me too. I think that's going to be a nice one on you to look. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
just blocked
Yes.
your other one, didn't
Yes,
I? What was
yes.
that one?
Terrible. I can't.
The name
now.
of it. Do you know the one that was
Was it
rust?
the Godey?
Oh, I think it was the. Was it the
Yeah,
Godey?
it's the
The
Godey.
rusty red coloured one.
Yes, yes.
I just blocked it. I hadn't because I thought it's not going to wear it when it was boiling hot. But the weather's sort of turning,
Oh, it has to.
so
but
I just gave it a wash and a block
Folks,
for it.
we're
It's
getting into an
beautiful.
exciting period in Bakery Bear Productions because we're obviously partway through episode 4 of the story of Holy Island.
Yes.
Next time, it will be the final episode of My Perfect Socks, and then Story of Holy Island ends, and then we're into our winter programming.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's exciting. Winter Walks.
Winter Walks.
It's back.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. 2 episodes of Winter Walks, debuted the series last year, and on the 2nd episode of Winter Walks, I shall be wearing my Godey. It'll be marvellous.
It's a lovely one.
What's your pick of the projects?
Okay, well, some of you might be thinking it's going to be the crochet jelly roll again. However, I finished it. Big news.
Huge news.
I finished the crochet jelly roll and I've actually started another one.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm currently working on the pattern and all of that business that's connected to it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you the finished crochet jelly roll on the next episode, because by then I'm confident that I'll be in a position to give you a better idea on things like release dates, because I'm hoping by then it'll be in testing, I'll have more of an idea, and I'll be able to show you the finished one. And I'll also show you the new one that I'm working on, which is slightly different, and I think is going to be beautiful. But on this Sunday, we've got our patron-only show.
Full details on how to access are in the show notes.
Yeah. And so if you're going to watch on Sunday, then I'm going to show it to you. I will show you the finished crochet jelly roll on Sunday.
We've actually done some special filming with it.
Yeah.
It has music, Kay.
Oh, it does.
It has full production values.
Oh, wow. I've got to say, it looks... I'm so pleased.
The border is just...
The border, I changed my mind on what I was going to do with the border, and it consumed me for quite some time, but actually what I've done I absolutely love, and it's simple, it's effective, it's just perfect, I think. So yeah, I will show you the finished crochet jelly roll on Sunday.
On Sunday on the Patreon show. Second time anywhere. Next time here on the video show.
Yes, so I'll show you all on the next episode when I can give you some more information on it. But my pick of the projects this time is, of course, a seasonal sock. And I guess what we didn't say when Dan showed his sock was we've actually sort of had a little jump start on Sockoween, because our sock projects are technically Sockoween projects, but...
Yeah, we can't enter, Kay. We can't win the prizes.
We can't enter,
I'm sorry.
Obviously. We can't win our own prizes. But for Sockoween, you can actually have, like, partly finished socks. You know, whips are fine. As long as you've only finished one sock, you can knit the second sock in Sockoween, and then that's fine. So that's my excuse, that doesn't matter if I start one anyway, because it would still qualify. But yes, obviously, we can't get our own prizes. So yeah, it's another sock, and I just recently started this. It's with a very, very Sockoweeny yarn.
That is as seasonal as it gets.
It's as seasonal as it gets. I recently purchased some yarn by 3 by the Sea Designs in sunny Florida, and I got this sock set in their most recent update, and it's Hocus Pocus. So that's really fun. And I got it on a base which is like, it's more sparkly than the Milky Way sky galaxy thing. It's so sparkly. It's fantastic. It's their Amelia silver base. It's 75% superwash extra fine merino, 15% nylon and 10% silver stellina. So there's twice as much stellina as a standard sparkly yarn. And it's so beautifully sparkly. And I've started a pair of socks. I'll show you the yarn first. I'm just getting too excited. So this is the yarn caked up. And it comes with this lovely purple mini. And it's just got all of the Halloween colours in there. There's a good amount of black. There's orange. There's this gorgeous green. It's like a sort of mossy green. It's beautiful. There's tiny bits of pink as well. There's purple, and then there's also some sort of whiter sections as well. It's just lovely. And the mini is the most beautiful purple. Look at that. Oh, gorgeous. So I'm knitting just a plain sock because I'm into plain socks, aren't I, at the moment? And I'm this far in. So if I show you the back of the sock, it will explain that I've put in my butterfly heel, which is a mock short row heel. It doesn't use short rows. It uses decreases and increases and picking up, but it sort of looks like a short row heel. I think there's actually more room in it than a short row heel, and I've had feedback that, you know, from knitters to say that they think there's also a bit more room than a short row heel. I think it's just horses for courses, isn't it? Some people prefer doing a short row heel, some people prefer afterthought heels, some people prefer heel flap and gusset, you know, whatever works for you. But the reason I put this one in is because I'll show you the front of the sock now to see how it's knitting up. And it's doing a sort of swirly thing, which I actually really like in this instance. It might not be coming up on the camera because the colours are all kind of that sort of dark, moody, Halloweeny colours. You might not be able to tell, but it sort of, where's the, can you see it runs sort of down like this? And I didn't want to disrupt that by putting in a heel flap and a turn, because I knew it would all get muddled up with the gusset decreases. So I thought, I'm just going to pop in my butterfly heel, which honestly I love. And I know Kim does as well at 3 by the Sea. She's always knitting this. So thank you, Kim, for your love of the butterfly heel. But it's just so easy, you know, and I suspect people will say the same about short row heels. I just don't like working short rows. You know, if you're ever wondering why I don't do a short row heel, I just don't like short rows in general. They just annoy me. And, you know, however, I know there's loads of different ways to work short rows. You know, German short rows,
They're the best.
Japanese short rows.
I've only done German.
Yeah, German, I think, you want the most common way of doing them, aren't they? I think wrap and turn is the sort of original way, if you like. Original,
I've done that
traditional
too.
way.
I've
done that too. I've done them all. I've tried them all. And they all kind of wind me up a bit. So that's why I really like this heel, because you do a bunch of decreases and then you pick up stitches along those decreases and it creates your heel, and it's just lovely. It fits me really nicely, fits Bryony really nicely. And these ones will be for Bryony. I showed her this yarn when we were FaceTiming the other day, and she liked it. I knew she would. She's very much an autumn Halloween girl. She's very much in her zone at the moment. She's very happy, all of the autumn vibes. But I'm just really enjoying knitting it. And this yarn is so sparkly. And do you know what? I can get this base. I looked on the yarn dyer that I use. It's not in stock at the moment, but I've made a note to check. I use Yarn Undyed, is the website, and I thought I'm going to have a look and see if they've got this base, and they did. I was like, oh, I'm going to get some of that. But like I say, it wasn't in stock, so next time I order some yarn, I'm going to see if it's back in stock, because I don't know if you can tell just how sparkly it is. I really hope you can see the sparkles. It's so sparkly. I just love it. And it's actually really plump. And I think it's the extra sparkle maybe. Do you know, the extra stellina that's plumping it up a bit? Because these are knitting up really, you know, they look slightly bigger than a normal sock would look. Not anything problematic, because, you know, I like my socks with a bit of room. Bryony likes them with a bit of room. And once you've washed them a few times, they do tend to shrink a little bit. So I think it'll be perfect. But I love how this is knitting up. Ironically, Bryony announced to me the other day that she's not actually mad on the film Hocus Pocus, but when she says that is the first one, because we did watch the second one, she really enjoyed it. We just don't really like the first one. I don't know why. Anyway, this is definitely my pick of the projects, because I'm just loving I'm loving the colours, but I'm loving the base of yarn. Oh,
cool.
It's just gorgeous.
So that's our pick of the projects.
Yes.
A gorgeous jumper
I want
and
to
a
go and knit
wonderful
that sock
seasonal
now.
pair of socks. And now it's time to find out, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
Okay, so what's off my needles? I've got 2 pairs of socks.
Perfect.
Oh, lovely. And the first pair are the Spookykooky Socks.
Oh,
I've shown you these ones before, but this is the design that I've created for Sockoween this year.
Perfect.
So these are a textured sock. It's sort of like a broken rib, effectively, but it's really fun to knit. Creates a gorgeous, squishy, warm sock. And I've used these 3 colours of DK weight. These are a DK weight pair of socks. So the yarn that I used is from Eden Cottage Yarns, and it's the Milburn DK. So this yarn is 85% blue face Leicester and 15% silk. Now, I wouldn't say that it would be a yarn that they would recommend for socks, but because of that 15% silk, I think it works perfectly, because silk is nature's nylon, isn't it? Very, very hard wearing, very tough, very strong. So it works perfectly, and it was gorgeous to knit with. I used 3 colours. The orange is Crocosmia, which unfortunately I think they might have discontinued recently. The green is Fern, and the purple is Black Tulip, I think it was. And they just turned out absolutely lovely. So cosy and warm. I actually had a question from one of our patrons yesterday about DK weight sock yarn and getting hold of it and recommendations. This particular patron was in the US saying, can you recommend anything? And, I'm not that familiar with shops in the US, but I did a bit of searching around and I did come up with a few ideas. So I'll let her know about that. But I will talk about that in the pop show on Sunday. And, so if any of our patrons are wanting to find yarn, I did find a few that I thought would work quite well. Knit Picks has a yarn which is very similar to this. It's got silk in it. I think it was called Gloss DK, and it might have been a wool silk blend. So I think it was quite comparable to this. So I thought that one might be good. And there was a few others as well, so I will talk about that. But basically, I think when it comes to DK weight sock yarn, you need to forget about looking for a yarn which is labelled as sock yarn, because they're not as common as fingering weight, as we know. What I always look for, I'm just looking for a yarn that has either a good amount of nylon or a good amount of something else which is really strong. In this case, it's silk. So it might be that it's got acrylic in it. That's effectively nylon. It's the same thing, really hard wearing. So if you found a yarn which was like, I think there's a Stylecraft DK. Is it Stylecraft Life? That one I think is partly wool, partly nylon. I can't see any reason why that wouldn't work really well for socks. So that's what I always do. I always just forget about looking for DK weight sock yarn, because apart from people like Regia and Opal, they do thicker yarns that are more specific for sock yarn. Then I just do that. I just go on to Wool Warehouse, for example. I filter it for DK. I filter it for like nylon or acrylic or silk or whatever, and then just see what comes up. And it's worth giving any of those a go. If you've got a good amount of the thing that's going to give it strength, then I say give it a go for socks. No reason it wouldn't work. So that's the Spookykooky Socks.
Beautiful. That series starts on the 1st of October, along with the pattern release with the first video, and it runs all the way through October.
Yes.
5-part series. Marvellous.
Marvellous.
Lots of spooky fun.
Indeedy. The other pair of socks that I've finished are the Jemima socks that I were working on, and this colourway happens to also...
Did you just say the Jemima socks that I were working on?
Did I say that?
I think you might have.
I am sorry, I sometimes fall into being Yorkshire.
That's okay.
These are the socks that I were working on.
We need a flat cap.
Yes. You're right, our lad.
Yes.
I'm not making fun,
You're Yorkshire. That's where you're from.
That's where I'm from,
That's how the majority of your family speak.
Yes.
Yes.
It's funny because the way that I speak, I sound nothing like my brother. Well, my two brothers or my sister.
Except sometimes you do, because a second ago you just said...
I sound nothing like them. My other sister, who's sadly no longer with us, I do sound like her.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I catch myself sometimes saying something, or, there might be a mannerism coming from me. If I'm watching something back that I've done, I just see my sister. It's really strange and really lovely. Yeah, so... Love the Yorkshire accent. So these are my Jemima socks that I finished, and I made these using one of the yarns that I dyed from the My Perfect Socks. So this one is Shop Around the Corner, and it's just perfectly autumnal. It's this gorgeous golden colour with little speckles of purple and green, and they just came out absolutely lovely. So the Jemima socks were from my first Beatrix Potter collection, which you can buy as an ebook with 3 patterns or separately as well. It's one of my favourites. I've made you a pair of these socks.
Yeah.
This might be my 2nd or 3rd time I've knitted it. It's just this gorgeous texture. Really, really lovely. So those ones are all finished too.
Beautiful. Marvellous.
Yay, so pair for my sock stash. And I suppose those ones could be as well.
Yes.
2 pairs for my sock stash.
The seasonal sock spectacular
Yes.
is over.
Oh,
and with that, it's time to head back to Lindisfarne and finally get in that castle.
Welcome back to my story of Holy Island. The year is 1539, and Henry VIII has decreed that all harbours should be fortified against the potential invasion of the French and Scottish. Across the country, that actually happened, normally using nearby monasteries as a convenient source of stone to build those castles. But here at Lindisfarne, that is a challenging prospect. Initially, a small earth and timber fort was completed, and it was constructed on top of a rock formation, which we can see ahead of us now. This is actually another part of the Great Windsill, which we discovered at the other end of the island earlier on in the series. By 1547, a simple fort had appeared, manned by a small group of soldiers and armed with cannon. It wasn't until 1572 that the iconic shape of the castle, which we know today, first appeared. It was under Queen Elizabeth I that 2 gun batteries were installed, an upper and a lower one. And now the castle would be garrisoned by a full complement of men. Finally, Lindisfarne Castle was ready for action. The prime concern for the soldiers was enemy troops landing right here on this beach. But to properly protect this beach, you need a crossfire of guns. So whilst there were big cannons firing from over there in Beblow Castle, they also installed a second position over to my right called Osborne Fort. This is Osborne's Fort. It's a really rare example of what's known as a redoubt. What would have happened was, at the start of any day, 6 or maybe 8 men would have marched down from Beblow Castle, and they would have come in here and they would have manned guns. It would have been built up probably 2 times as tall as this. There would have been a gun platform above, and up there would have been cannon. The reason why it was put here was for you to protect anything in the age of the cannon, which had arrived obviously after the castle. You needed a crossfire. So as cannons arrived into the world, redoubts started to appear. Now, the reason why I brought you here to show you this is it's so unbelievably rare. And the reason why these things are rare is castles now normally are close to towns and cities. And that means things have been knocked down, houses have been built on top of what is seen as not particularly archaeologically significant. I have never seen one of these before, though. I think it's absolutely stupendous. And that's the reason why I brought you to have a look. By 1603, the crowns of Scotland and England were joined under James I, and so invasion from Scotland largely disappeared. But the castle was proving a huge hit with visitors. One wrote, "In the castle there lives a Captain Rugg, famous for his generous free entertainment of visitors, but he also has the largest bottle nose I've ever seen. It is a dainty little fort, and it has warm, welcoming rooms." Captain Rugg must have been quite the character, and it's easy to imagine the warm, hearty welcome that he would have received right here. He was, though, hiding a secret. He wasn't being paid. He wrote a rhyming letter to the royal paymasters in 1643, which still exists, and it read, "The great commander of the cormorants, the geese and gander of these hallowed lands, where Lindisfarne and Holy Island stands, these worthless lines sent to your worthy hands, send in my disbursements, made out by direction, from my good lord sirs, hasten my collection." This charming letter really was quite a humorous way, certainly in the day, of asking quite simply to be paid. Sadly, the letters didn't work. 3 years later, he died, and he left in his will £100, all owed to him still by Parliament. Now, if you're wondering if that castle ever saw any action, it did, just once. It was 1715, and it was the time of the Jacobite uprising in Scotland and England. This was, in essence, a quest to return a Catholic to the throne of England itself. On a cold autumn evening, Lancelot Errington anchored his brigantine, which looked just like a pirate ship, out there in the harbour. He invited all who were not on duty at the castle to come aboard for a drink, where he promptly got them all blind drunk. Lancelot and his nephew Mark now made their move. They entered the castle, ejected the remaining soldiers and shut the gates. They hoisted the flag of King James II, a Catholic, and claimed the castle for him. For 2 days they held out until a garrison of soldiers arrived from Berwick. They tried to escape, but Lancelot was grazed by a bullet, and so both were captured. A rather sorry tale, but it was, as I mentioned, the only action the castle ever saw. As the 18th century wore on, gradually the castle fell out of use. Eventually it became, it's like a Coast Guard station, a lifeguard station, but even then it was only very rarely used. By the mid-19th century, it was an uninhabitable ruin, and that perhaps would have been the end of its story had the founder of the Country Life magazine not come here on holiday. He saw the castle in the distance and he was absolutely entranced by it. So he rented it first and then he bought it, and he underwent the most spectacular renovation. And I think it's time that we went and took a little look around. It is rather lovely, isn't it? It doesn't really look like a castle at all, because if you look closely, you can't see any battlements. That's because it was renovated by one of the most popular architects of the early 20th century, Edwin Lutyens. Lutyens' first move was to soften the exterior of the castle, so he removed the castle's ramparts and he took away the stone balustrade which flanked the castle's approach. He replaced it with his signature herringbone-designed cobbles. Gorgeous to look at, but not popular with the Princess of Wales when she visited in 1908. She complained vehemently that they hurt her feet, and after walking up them, I think I'd have to agree with her. Lutyens loved dramatic entrances, and this one does not disappoint, taking inspiration from the style of the old priory with these huge pillars reminiscent of the ruined church. This does not feel like you're entering a castle at all. In 1912, artist and cartographer MacDonald Gill was commissioned to fill the space above the fireplace with a wind indicator. The painting you see depicts a fictitious engagement with the Spanish Armada, and in the centre, Holy Island itself. The purpose of this wonderful thing is to allow those who are looking at it to know which direction the wind is blowing in outside, a key piece of information on island life. Edwin Lutyens was always renowned for his light touch. In the dining room, for example, he did little, embracing the beauty of the original vaulted ceilings. He personally designed this dining table, which, as you can see, fits the room perfectly. and he offset the austere walls throughout the castle with these gorgeous honey-coloured oak doors. When this castle was initially built, what we're walking into now was once 3 separate storerooms. Lutyens not only knocked them into one, but he extended westwards so he could install this wonderful fireplace. The celebrity A-listers of the day relaxed in this room. Helena Bonham Carter's great-granddad, Prime Minister of the day Herbert Asquith, the future King George V, even the author of Peter Pan, J.M. Barrie, all visited here. As the years passed, this room became known as the Ship Room. Why, you ask? Because of this replica 1840s Dutch merchant ship. The castle's new owner had Dutch seafaring ancestors, which led to this wonderful addition. Coming up the stairs, the first room we're greeted with is the Long Gallery. This was one of the only completely new spaces that Edwin Lutyens added. It joined up the separate buildings of the old castle and provided covered access to the bedrooms. 9 were installed at the renovation, some small like this one. In the time of the castle, this was where the ammunition for the cannons were stored. But other bedrooms were more spacious, like this one. This sumptuous room was where the most important guests stayed. The founder of the scouting movement, Lord Baden-Powell, had a marvellous time here one summer. Lutyens liked to play with scale. He did so here with this fireplace, installing an imposing lintel far too big for the tiny fireplace below. The bed in this room is particularly special. It's the most impressive of the 3 in the castle, and it was made in Flanders, and it dates from 1753. Our final destination before we head out onto the gun battery is the Long Gallery we mentioned earlier. It wasn't just a corridor, it was also a cosy sitting room. You can imagine the castle's new owner warming himself here at the end of a long evening of entertaining. The parties here really were quite special. Renowned Portuguese cellist Madame Sugia was a regular guest. She would often perform after dinner in the Ship Room or here in the Long Gallery. Famous English writer Siegfried Sassoon attended one of those concerts, and he wrote afterward that Madame Sugia enchanted us by her immense vitality and charm. Her cello's elegance was accompanied only by the beat and wash of the waves breaking below. The last location on our tour is the most spectacular of all and the least altered. This is the Upper Gun Battery, the site of many of the original castle's cannons. The earliest mention of the gun battery dates from the time of Elizabeth I, and then the records tell us that there were 10 cannons based up here to protect the harbour of Lindisfarne. But by Edwin Lutyens' time, this was the perfect place to take in the view, and it really is utterly spectacular. So we've told the story of Holy Island, from its earliest mentions in the history books, right up to the building of the amazing castle. And it's fascinating to see, isn't it, how The nation's religious course was so closely linked with this enchanting and fascinating place. And that story is far from over, because we haven't visited the Gertrude Jekyll garden that is attached to the castle. We also haven't visited the oldest building on the whole island that's still in use, which is just gorgeous. And also, what of the island today? Is its history all in the past, or is it still being written? We're going to find out all of this in the final episode in the series. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with more of my story of Holy Island. What an outstanding history for such a small place. The one remaining question I have is though, is its story all in the past? Or is it still being written? That's what I want to try and find out on one final walk around this absolutely wonderful place. Well, hello.
Hi.
I think that the right terminology is, well, hello there, sailor. My goodness, what a perfect spot you found.
I know, isn't it beautiful?
Where are we?
We are on a beach called Sandon Bay.
Beautiful.
What a fascinating place.
Isn't
It is strange to say the least. Definitely not homely.
No.
But you can see those sort of... You can see that someone modern-ish has gone in there and tried to do stuff.
It's sort of like a film set a little bit, isn't it?
Definitely like a film set.
And getting up to it, let me tell you, you've got to have nerves of steel.
Did you see those steps? Herringbone.
I had to go, because there's like this wall, obviously it's built on top of like a cliff thing. Yeah. There's a wall here, and then you've got to go this really steep cobbled path, and the other side it's just like there, straight down. So I was like on the side here, wasn't I? Just looking straight down, and Dan was here. I'm like, just don't leave my side. Gosh, it was really scary.
And I need to look into who the Princess of Wales was at the time.
All right.
Because it can't have been the Queen's mum.
No.
Because she was never the Princess of Wales.
No, she was the Duchess of York, wasn't it? No, was she?
Well, they obviously became King and Queen because they...
Yeah, they did, but weren't they the Duke and Duchess of York before that?
Because they weren't first in line to the throne.
Right.
First in line to the throne was, of course, his brother who abdicated. Right. So I think it is the monarch before that.
Right.
So, I mean, I need to look into it. But you can understand why someone in shoes, lady shoes, not walking shoes, walking up those cobbles would have gone, forget this. I don't
know how you do it, especially if it was wet.
Yeah.
My goodness.
But what about that wind indicator thing?
Yeah.
Just bonkers.
It's a really strange place. It's definitely worth a visit.
Film set's a really good description.
If you're feeling brave and, you can walk up there, then it's definitely worth a visit. But if you don't feel up to it, then I wouldn't say that you are going to be...
You're not missing anything.
I don't think you're really missing anything. What you've seen is sort of what you get, really.
If you imagine Lindisfarne as an ice cream sundae, the inside of it is one sprinkle.
Yeah, and it's funny because there is a toilet in there, right? There's a public toilet.
One single.
And I was just interested. I was like, I wonder what the loo's like. So I said, I'm going to go to the loo. Oh my gosh. It was like you're on the cliff.
Yeah, because it's positioned where the original loo was when it was a castle.
I think it just dropped straight down.
That is what it did do, but not now.
Not now. Not now.
The loo was built into the castle prior to the invention of drains the way we know them.
Yes.
Yeah. But then when drains appeared, they replaced it with a properly drained toilet.
But there was like fresh air. There was a window.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe unless you've been there. If you do go, pop in the loo and have a look because it's worth having a look. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I just come in to visit because Kay says I've got to use your loo.
Yeah, I need to use the loos.
Yeah.
So look, final episode now is on the horizon, and that final episode is coming on the 31st of October.
Ooh.
When we see you next time,
Halloween.
it's the final episode of My Perfect Socks.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. This is the most exciting point of the year, isn't it? Yes, we're saying goodbye to things, but we get to say hello to lots of lovely things.
Yes, very exciting.
It's going to be marvellous. And speaking of lovely things, right now it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
And Kay has some yarn to show you.
I do. I made this little purchase following on from my love of that new base that I was talking about last time from Kelly at Lay Family Yarn. And she did a yarn update. They did an update and I was like, oh, I'm going to have a little look. And I ended up buying a few things. So first of all, I got this skein. The colour of this yarn is just like, oh my goodness. So it's called, my favourite colour is Autumn. And look at the colour of this yarn. Oh my goodness. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is going to be a pair of socks for Bryony. Just the most gorgeous, rich, it is like walking in fallen leaves, isn't it? It almost glows. It's really beautiful. So I got this one. And then I picked up one of their hat sets. That you get a skein of yarn and you get a skein of the fluffy stuff. This one is the Suri alpaca. I don't like mohair, I've got to say. It itches me like, I can't even, I know a lot of people are like that. But the Suri alpaca is lovely. So this one is called Fallow Deer. It's a nice neutral. And you get this fluffy in the same colourway. And you hold them together and make a hat. Or that's what the intention is. You can obviously do whatever you want with it. But that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a folded hat. One of my patterns, one of my recent patterns with this. And I think it'll be lovely. One of my test knitters actually made a hat using a fluffy and fingering weight held together. And it came out lovely. And I wanted to try it. So when I saw these, I thought, I'm going to give that a go. So these come with a pom-pom, which I've also got. So that'll be lovely, won't it? So I've got that. And then the final thing, I couldn't resist this. I've got no plans for this. It was a completely frivolous purchase, I'll be honest. But it was just too pretty. I could not leave it. It's a set of minis. Oh my goodness, look at those colours. I'm obviously in the autumn zone, aren't I? These are all 10 gram minis in all of these colours. There's 15. And they're just gorgeous. So I've no clue what I'm going to do with this. But I just had to have it. It's just so pretty. I am considering starting another 100 acre blanket actually, and just doing it all sort of warm autumnal shades. So that'd be perfect for that. But yeah, just mulling it over.
We've mentioned it earlier on in the show, but the next Patreon exclusive show is a really exciting one. It's coming up on Sunday the 28th of September. It's live at 2 p.m. British Summer Time. But if you can't make it live, fear not, because you can watch it any time you like after 20 past 3 on the 28th of September. We're going to be giving you all the details on Sockoween.
Yes.
That means the knit along. We'll be talking all about the knit along. We'll tell you what the prizes are, tell you how to enter. We'll also be showing the completed crochet jelly roll, as we mentioned before, with the rather spectacular border. And we'll also be doing all the other lovely things that we do.
Talking about some books.
Yes, talking about books and looking at what's on the community's needles and what's off the community's needles and all sorts of lovely stuff. So don't miss the next patron-only show. Is going to be cool. Now, we have a huge announcement, and I think I feel quite positive about it. Yes, I'm feeling relatively positive about it, but quite shy, so please don't make a fuss. But huge announcement, and that is this. You may have noticed in all the years that we have done this, we've always taken 2 weeks off you. We've just had 2 weeks holiday, one in the summer and one at Christmas. Yeah. This summer, there was no amendment to your schedule.
No.
The show just kept rolling because we were saving that week's holiday for a special occasion. And that special occasion has arrived. I will tell you what it is. Kay is turning 50.
Oh, shut up.
But I've just made this a really positive experience all around.
That happened a few years ago. I'm sure you will all remember.
No. It's you. It isn't me.
It's not me.
Okay, it might be me.
It is Dan.
So yes, I'm turning 50.
Dan is turning 50 in
A few days.
not long, a week or so's time.
Yeah.
So
we decided to change our week off, which was a lovely offer for you to make. And actually, personally, I feel like it's a really great move because, as long-term viewers will know, Christmas is an insane time for the Bakery Bears. And this year is going to be... Last year was... we lit the touch paper. This year, it's going to fly. And it's going to be like, oh... So we've got the most insane schedule coming up. So having, a week's holiday now...
Yeah.
Just marvellous.
Yeah.
So I can confirm for you exactly that the next show will be on the 17th of October.
Yes.
But Bakery Bear patrons, of course, your schedule never gets touched. So all the content that you receive and you get, and of course doesn't get touched because it's Sockoween.
Absolutely.
So the Sockoween videos will be flowing.
Yes.
And we'll be having a lovely little holiday. So that's
we are.
really
We're
nice.
very excited.
Yes. We were planning it out the other day.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Walks and reading and an art gallery and it's going to be lovely.
It's going to be really fun. We've been looking forward to it for a while.
And a birthday as well.
And a birthday.
Kay's 50th.
Oh, stop it.
But doesn't that sound positive?
I'm just so happy that Dan's finally going to get to 50 after I've passed 50 a few years ago. Let's not talk about that. So, he's going to be joining in the glory of everyone out there who's in the 50s.
You can see it in my temples.
Well, I've got no issues with signs of ageing.
No.
I've got to. I mean, I don't like the signs of ageing that.
Look, forget it.
Yeah, but I when it's other people, especially men. I mean, I
don't like the signs of ageing unless it's in other people. Then I don't mind it at all.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I would rather see someone who is aging naturally.
Exactly.
And just
Looking
living their life as healthily as they can,
Look,
and
just another thing that I might touch
going
in on
with the flow.
Maybe I'll talk about it some more on the Patreon exclusive show, but it's maybe too early anyway. But I've started doing Tai Chi, and I really like it a lot. And Kay did it a little bit as well this morning, which is really cool.
It's cool.
And my plan is to really increase, doing the Tai Chi more and more. And that with the weights that I started doing about 5 years ago and with the running. My plan is I'm going to be 55 and ripped.
Ooh.
Bring it on, baby. Just watch this space. Bring it on.
Yay, Lions.
Yes.
That's all we're going to say as
That's all
well
we'll say,
about the Lions.
We're not making a statement about jungles here.
No. All you Lions fans out there will be rejoicing with us for the last result.
Yes. Look, folks, that's the end of a lovely show. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
Remember,
enjoy autumn. Go for a lovely walk. Do some sock knitting. Make yourself a cup of tea. Oh, lovely.
And we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yes.
With an episode which will feature the finale of My Perfect Socks.
See you soon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Right, let me put this one away. I just have to edit this.
Thank you for your editing instruction there.
It's okay.
You don't need to do that, darling.
Woman 2 and 2. This is episode 4, shot 29. Welcome back to Lindisfarne. The prime concern for the soldiers were enemy troops landing on this beach. But to properly...
You said the prime concern were... What else? Hang on a second, darling. Blow my nose.
Down,